So you have sort of proof of concept of what you might be on to do next?
I think that's really pretty powerful proof of concept, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we walked out of there, and Bob was there, Bob Rosenkrantz, who I mentioned before. And he said to me, he knew my passion and my driving passion to do this, and he said to me that night, he said, okay, tonight your dream comes true.
No kidding.
He had cable systems around the country, and he was going to install satellite dishes. And they were 10-meter dishes at that time. 10 meters, is a lot. Big dishes they had to put in. And they only received 12 channels at that time. So 12 channels was the maximum. And HBO and Jerry Levin from HBO, I don't know if you ever had Jerry speak, but he had a very illustrious career, was discredited with the AOL merger with Time Warner and left the business. But Jerry was the other driving force with Congress as well. And because he wanted to deliver HBO via satellite. So that was movies. So that night we decided to do sports. So USA was actually launched as we launched it in 1977 as Madison Square Garden Sports, and actually I had the privilege of bringing all the sports to cable. I negotiated all the initial sports deals for cable, and it was an all-sports network. NFL was the only one that didn't come at that time. They came much later.
And what was give us the vision for USA Network as you started it?
Well, it was, my vision was really to provide 24-hour programming, nonstop, 7 days a week, and to provide people with alternative, things to watch. What was happening at that time is that the 3 broadcast networks would all have the same thing on at the same time. They'd have the nightly news on at the same time. They'd have their sitcoms on at the same time. They'd have their dramas on at the same, you know what I mean? And then the sports was only on the weekends. It was Saturday and Sunday afternoon. That was it. And then Monday Night Football. And that was it. And I thought, well, I'm a sports fan. I'm an athlete. I like to compete. I thought, people love sports. Why can't they watch sports every day? They're going on. I mean, people are playing baseball, basketball, all these different things are going on. So why can't we just have sports all the time if you want? And so this was before ESPN. And, before everybody. And it was really, there was one thing that I would say it was the brilliance of it. One thing I got to have my passion for me, that was a wonderful thing. But the brilliance was the new business model. Television really just had one revenue stream, selling advertising. And television networks, still today, although it's changing now, they paid television stations to carry their programming. And then they sold advertising, and that was it. And as a startup industry, we couldn't do that because we didn't have enough distribution. When I launched USA, there were only about a couple million cable homes in the United States. I mean, by this time they were growing up to maybe closer to 10 million, but on satellite, still only about 2 million at most. And that could even access this. So you couldn't really support it with advertising. There wasn't enough, you didn't have a big enough distribution. So we reversed the business model, and we had the cable systems pay us for the programming. And I started USA at 10 cents a month per subscriber. And then when I added Major League Baseball, first I started with 125 events from Madison Square Garden, and then I kept adding other sports. So when I added baseball, I said, they'd have to pay 2 cents more for the baseball, and kept, just adding different things on it. And there's some really interesting stories about how sports, how we really captured the sports
I
arena.
definitely want to catch that. So that model that was created then is actually the model that's still in existence now. So for a channel now, you have 2 sources of revenue. So say Bravo. Bravo gets paid by Comcast, by Time Warner, per subscriber per month. Say 15, 20 cents per month that she started. And then their second source of revenue is selling advertising. That's still the exact same model. It's going to be changing soon, we think, or at least there's going to have to be some
all these networks try to pick up additional revenue today in social media and, running, sort of questions and content. Even like the news channels where you can text message in and you pay for it, so they get a little other revenue streams. Today, anything that you would start in media today, you really have to have a multimedia strategy, and you have to have 4 or 5 different sources of revenue at least developing for you. But the main ones in cable television, the reason there are so many cable television networks that are successful is because of this model, because they have a license fee and they have advertising, except for the pays. HBO and Showtime and so forth, it's a subscription model and no advertising.